Okay, welcome back, guys. Welcome back to our channel. We have our guest here, Cliff from Bitcoiner Hong Kong. How are you doing, Cliff?
All right, great. Thanks a lot, Mom.
Yes, exactly. I mean, before I gotta start with the video, can you share a little bit more about yourself? Yeah, how you get into Bitcoin rabbit hole for the first time?
Well, there was a Microsoft developer that I used to follow back in the 90s, also 2000, but he was talking about new money and stuff like that. And since I was at Microsoft, and there was this talk about how things were going to change, and there was a lifeboat back then, like you could be a lifeboat member. And so I was young and I really didn't know what was happening, but anyway, one of the developers, his name's Cliff High, he said, you know what, there's this new money, and I'm going to start looking for it. So I've followed Cliff High since radio talk shows, Coast to Coast AM, in 1998. So I've followed this guy, and he's made some wild claims, but a lot of the claims that he made, like maybe 60% of them came true. So anyway, in 2009, 2010, I was a paramedic intern. So I was going to the hospital to go to my shift. And I heard on the radio them talking about Bitcoin. And that moment, I'm sitting there driving, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it. That's the new money. And then I realized that this was a chance, right? This was the big thing that Cliff was talking about, the new money, and all the tech guys they were talking about back then, right? Because a lot of the tech guys are like conservative, libertarian types, right? Back then, like at Microsoft, all the tech guys were into that stuff, on the West Coast. But anyway, so then I looked at it, and since I was a Microsoft guy, I was a help desk guy, I looked at it and I couldn't really understand what was going on. I was like, you know what, this isn't even ready. I can't deal with it. So anyway, I left it, came back to it, I guess 2013, 2014. I had traveled a lot in that time, went to different hospitals and stuff like that, talked to other people about Bitcoin, but nobody really understood what was going on. But 2014, came to Hong Kong after doing my, world tour, So I ended up in Hong Kong, and there's an ATM here. So I was like, oh, this is it. I got it, right? And so anyway, I guess the price, it was like about 300 back then, right? So, going to the Bitcoin ATM, just buying Bitcoin was that was it. I was like, okay, now I can try to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of talk about the corruption that was around, even before 2009. We're talking about the LIBOR, where the banks, they basically manipulate the interest rates, and that affects everybody globally. And so nobody got into trouble for that, and nobody really addressed it. But until Bitcoin came, now we actually had a tool to kind of keep these other people honest. So, yeah, it's been a long time since then, and I think like I guess 2022, that we're seeing all those things that we thought about back then. We're starting to see those things come through. So before, they were kind of like conspiracy theory, but now they look like things are actually happening. So
Yeah, it's suddenly happening. The thing that they say conspiracy is become reality. I don't know. It's just the way it is. So Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like since you mentioned, like you've been in the space for a long time. I mean, what was the aha moment when you say that, oh, Bitcoin is the no, there is no alternative other than Bitcoin. I mean, since you like going to other shitcoin conference, right?
Oh, back then, I guess it was. Oh, well, remember the thing was Ethereum, right, and Ethereum Classic, right. So that was a big argument back then. So being from like the libertarian point of view, I looked at Ethereum and looked at it and thought, well, this is a little bit centralized and it can be controlled if they can roll back the chain. The DAO hack happened, and basically they rolled back the chain, but that's what the banks do, right? If there's if there's money stolen, they just roll back the chain and pretend it never happened. So to be kind of like a purist in that sense, like you're not supposed to roll back the chain, right? But anyway, so I went to the Ethereum Classic, conference. I met Charles Hoskinson there, and I think a lot of the debates also about Bitcoin and Ethereum back then also came true. I told some of my friends, look, I thought Ethereum is slow, fat, and expensive, right? And so guess what? It's still slow, fat, and expensive, right?
Yeah.
But also Bitcoin is getting expensive too. So all right, so it can't scale, right? That was the problem back in 2017, right? All the things that we argued about back in 2016 also. So the same arguments are still here and the same problems are still here, right? Scalability, interoperability. And but now that we have a bunch of new teams with different points of view and different programming languages, I think the competition is starting to fill out a little bit more these days. So
yeah, I know. I mean, like Shitcoin has a lot of VC, that's why it's not going anywhere. I mean, I do agree with that. I mean, Shitcoin is not going anywhere. I mean, like I know Bitcoin is going to infinity. I mean, like it is a zero sum game for in many ways, or I mean, yeah. It's just curious about your thoughts. Yeah.
Okay, well, when it comes down to Bitcoin and the blockchain, what I think is Bitcoin will be around for the next 100 years. Now, there's a lot of other people that missed out on getting Bitcoin at, let's say, $400, right? Or $1, right? I can remember a few people that I told to buy Bitcoin back in 2010, 2011, and they dismissed it. So, but all of the people that listened back then, of course, they're all fine. But when it comes down to new chains and stuff like that, and then new hype, well, substance is always going to beat the hype, right? So what we're seeing is that some chains are trying to tackle the same problems, and some are having problems with that. So I think there's always going to be programmers that will keep up the chains, especially like Bitcoin and some of the other big chains. But all of the VCs and stuff like that, I think they can throw money at a chain, but sometimes they can't buy the talent. It's kind of like I don't know if you watch baseball, but sometimes like the New York Yankees, they will throw all the money at their players, and they're the highest paid guys, but they can't win the World Series every time. It takes a little bit something more than just money. So that's how I look at VCs.
Yeah, because Jack Dorsey after he left Twitter, tweets a lot about VC and saying that shitcoin is not decentralized, is not centralized. I mean, it's not decentralized. I mean, it's completely centralized. So I don't know. Yeah, it's all about fundamentals. He said that. Of course, Jack's company, I mean, Spiral is funded by VC, but it's not the idea. Right? I mean, the idea of VC in here is to make it, sound it's like decentralized, even if it's not, right? So I don't know what's the argument in there. Yeah.
Well, I think the chains that aren't actually VC funded that are still in the top 20, those are the ones to actually look out for, because the ones that aren't, like everybody likes to think that they're a benevolent VC, right? But a lot of these VCs are subverted anyway.
Yes.
And they will push marketing onto people when there's nothing behind it, so that's my main problem with it. And that's why the maximalists hate every other shitcoin, because it's one thing to deliver, and then it's another thing to promise a technological development, right, and a technological edge. But I'm not in the business to bet on a technological development, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't put money into buzzwords.
Yes.
And that's why maximalists hate them, right? I understand that. I think maybe there might be some other projects that take a little bit of the piece of pie.
Yeah, it happened every cycle. There is a hype. I mean, like last cycle, there is like ICO boom, and right now it's Web3 boom. I don't know. Next cycle is going to happen. Yeah.
Well, Web3 is an old concept from 2017.
Yes, right? Exactly. They rebrand crypto to Web3. That's why I just
right. So yeah, I mean that's good if you're in it before they start the hype. But if you just start to hear about the hype, right, and Bitcoin is going up and up and up, that's too late to buy. You know what I mean? I just about every person that has contacted me about Bitcoin in the last year, was at the high. So, it's when people that have non-technical abilities are hearing about it, it's late in the game. Yeah.
So there's also I don't know, maybe there will be another boom after this cycle, because the idea is getting as much as Bitcoin as possible, right? So that's why the boom is happen every cycle. Maybe the VC have no idea how to figure out how to acquire more Bitcoin, so that's why buzzword is created, right?
Well, there are some professional traders that we are dealing with, right? And there's lots of bots that are running numbers, right? So let's say there's a bunch of whales, right, in let's say Hong Kong, and they have, let's say, about 100,000 Bitcoin, but they want to short Bitcoin and profit on the short. So they will sell it and then buy the short, right? So there's all sorts of games that are being played right now just to get more Bitcoin. So that's one thing. Then there's quants, there's other hedge funds trying to trade, to get more Bitcoin. And so we talked about that in 2017, and now when we look at the charts, they're very choppy. They're very choppy and very blocky. And so I think we're starting to see more and more players that are really good at trading too. So, you know, a human cannot compete with a computer. You know, you have to know what's going on before it happens.
Yes, exactly. Because the whales, can only acquire Bitcoin on the market, right? Not like stock. You can buy a split of the stock. So yeah, that's why I agree with you. I mean, it's the player is getting involved. I mean, in the large scale. I mean, not only like some whales who are already involved in this type. Even though like some whales like getting involved in the game, but still they hard to like move the market, right? So that's why even though like they call it smart money, quote unquote, but they still got wrecked sometimes, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I think once they started the CME and stuff like that, and letting all the institutionals come in, now that you know the price is always the US dollar coming in and out of Bitcoin, right? So it's always, that's why it's so volatile, right? Because it's such a small volume, like quantity of Bitcoin. You know, $1 billion once it comes in, right, it pushes it up, right? So, but I think that is going to continue, and you know, we're in March, so almost like usually in April, we see very highs, and then it drops during the summer. But I think we're going to keep on seeing this cycle this year.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we talk about price. I mean, yeah, I agree with you because and not only the wash trading happening in the market, you know, I mean, like there is also a company adopting it as a reserve and balance sheet, and yeah, that's why it's the price is not moving that much. You know, I know that the market cap is counted by the people who hold it, and then the people who like traded it, and yeah, that's why it's not. I mean, to move the market cap of Bitcoin is not unlike the previous cycle, right? So yeah, that's the pretty much about it.
Right. And also what we're seeing, you know, this is what I talked about before with these other groups is, you know, we're seeing political instability. It's forcing these institutions and the banks to also go into crypto because they have to hedge their bet against the dollar, you know, falling out, right?
Yes.
Now that we have this the issue with Russia and Ukraine, you know, you saw the ruble, it just dropped off, right?
Yes, exactly.
And that could be a start of a new cascade of effects, right? Now, once all these other fiat currencies start dropping, you know, all these other people are going to start to default, right? And it could set off a whole chain of bad things, you know. So I think that the chaos this year is going to be pushing people into Bitcoin and looking at other cryptos.
Yes, exactly. That's the catalyst, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they already got into Bitcoin. I mean, like before the attack happened, you know, in the Ukraine, and Putin announced that crypto is here to stay. Right? I mean, like I don't know. Maybe they already acquired Bitcoin for some reason. But
I think the CCP, the Russians, they have Bitcoin. I think anybody that understands what's happening to the US dollar, even in Canada, remember they froze the funds in Canada.
Yeah.
And so that, you know, there's a lot of Chinese people over there, right, that got away from the CCP, right? And so what they're thinking is like, well, you know what, if they can freeze my money, I got to get it out of here now. So they don't want to be in Canada. And all of a sudden, all that stuff about Canada, that disappeared in the news, right?
Yeah.
So they don't want to wake people up any more than necessary.
Yeah, but as we know, I mean, like there's a pros and cons in there, right? Yeah, because in politics getting involved, that's why it's kind of tough because there is also innocent people in there have no idea what's going on, and then wake up in the morning and yeah, the credit card got frozen. I don't know.
Yeah. But really, if they're just starting to figure out what's going on, they are in for a rude awakening, because now that we have the hyperinflation happening of the dollar. Of course, if they keep on printing stuff, it's going to hyperinflate. The dollar is dying, right? It's worth less, right?
Yes.
And if people are starting to wake up to that and they still have their job, well, you know what? They need to seek a better financial education, because they're never going to retire on what their job is paying them over 30 years. They're never going to retire. And even in the next, in the next 2 to 5 years is going to be the most crucial time in history to actually look at something like Bitcoin that, that they can't freeze.
Yes,
And
Bitcoin is a lifeboat for some people. Yeah, is a hope for some people. So yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before they figure it out, because Bitcoin is unconfiscatable and also immutable. So yeah, there is some hope in the future if we adopt Bitcoin. Right? I mean, I don't know. There is some tweet from Plan B, where he said that when the Plan B indicator, I mean, like stock to flow model is invalidated for some reason. But he said that the people say that people view Bitcoin as not as a digital gold, but as a tech stock or something. Yeah. Okay. Do you agree with that? I mean, yeah, Bitcoin, yeah, I know it's still in adoption phase. That's why people have no idea how to value it. And yeah, what's your position in it? Is it like digital gold or like tech stock right now?
well, what we saw Bitcoin disconnect with the S&P 500, though. So now we saw the correlation break the last few days. So on the first day, gold went up, right? So, but that's big money. It takes a lot of money to push gold up. Okay. That's not regular people, right? And regular people don't trade in gold. They don't store in gold, right? Gold is the money that governments use. Okay. But for people like us, there's no way to transact in gold. Okay. So we saw gold go up and then also go down, and then Bitcoin broke the correlation with the market, NASDAQ, right? So I think what is happening is all of the people getting out of the stock market. Of course, the smart money is going into Bitcoin and crypto. The media will tell you otherwise.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the thing. You need to stop watching TV.
Yeah, classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
think you're correct. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like there will be decoupling for I mean in the near future, because Bitcoin, yeah, people is still in adoption phase. The market is still inefficient for some reason. That's why I think Bitcoin will decouple from what is called the stock market and the S&P 500. So yeah, it's only a matter of time. But like Plan B said before, it's prior to the attack in the Ukraine is still like correlated to tech stock, right? Yeah.
well, I can understand that a little bit, but also I don't somebody like me, okay, I have full faith in Bitcoin
Yes.
and some other cryptos. I have full faith, okay? I don't have faith in the dollar or other fiat currencies.
Yes.
Okay, so somebody like me, I'm already on the other fence. I'm already on the other side, right? So I don't actually listen to a lot of what is being said. A lot of it's disinformation. A lot of the other big YouTubers, right? The big YouTubers out there, they can talk about some, crypto project or whatever, but you know what? There's 90% chance that they're not going to make it.
Yes.
Okay. But somebody like me, of course, I've been watching it for such a long time. I mean, I like Plan B and stuff like that, but for all the new people that are starting to try to understand it, if they don't have the faith, they won't put their money into it, right? And then it takes a hard lesson, like the Russian ruble, right? I have some Russian friends right now. Some of them are trapped in other countries and they're losing money. They can't afford to get out, right? They're losing money. So the price of Bitcoin has gone up, So anyway, I think we are going to see a panic to own Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, only matter of time because before hyper Bitcoinization happen, because you cannot ban it, you cannot confiscate it. So that's why it's Bitcoin is so for some people. Yeah, I agree with you. So I mean, back to situation with all of this stuff that happening in the world right now. I mean, you mentioned like before about the debt to GDP ratio. I mean, I mean, it's always led to a war, or it's just self-fulfilling. I mean, a self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, like there's something happened back then, or it's just the way it is.
Yeah, actually, that I saw that somebody posted that on Twitter.
Yes,
and basically they're saying, look, the debt to GDP ratio, is so high, it's 120%. And World War II is 121%. Now it's 127%. So now the debt to GDP, there's a lot of money. Like, when a gangster wants their money, they're going to come after you, right? And so if you owe like these gangsters or the mafia money, they are going to come after you. And that's what we're starting to see. It happened in the US Civil War, World War I, World War II, and now we have a high debt to GDP ratio. So, basically somebody's not going to pay their bill, right? So like the US, right?
Yeah.
The US, what they trillions of dollars, who's going to pay that exactly? Because, I don't see anybody in the US producing anything.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a senator from Wyoming. Like she is a Bitcoiner as well. She is like a little bit pity about why government always push more debt. So that's why she's like wondering why it's happening over and over again. I mean, they don't have intention to like pay off the debt. I think because there's a PONZI, right? I mean, make the money out of thin air and make the show goes on, and they fund the war. Yeah,
that's right. It's a fiduciary trust. So, but it's a faith-based system. So you have faith in the US dollar, right? But people are starting to lose faith in the dollar. We've seen that with China. We've seen that in Russia. They're trying to get away from the US dollar and the oil petrodollar, right? So, but I think all these governments and all these competing, they're more like businesses. Okay, they're more like corporations. These companies, right, or these governments are more like companies, and now they have this mentality where, you know, we're just going to keep on printing money because we have faith in ourselves. But really what they're doing is stealing money from the people that actually work hard. And you know, I think that now that we do have all these problems, I think the reset is something like the brink of war. So unfortunately, that is what happens when, you know, gangsters and this mobster mentality happens. You get the fight. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's would lead to the end game. I mean, like, what's the end game of the all of this? I mean, is the debt of US dollar, like you said before, or just, yeah, the World Economic Forum try to, yeah, and the IMF try to bring like SDR, I mean, like bucket of currency. Yeah, because they back
it's
to like El Salvador to like, oh, please don't adopt
yeah,
Bitcoin,
yeah.
right? So, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, even it's, if you look at the people who are saying this, it's usually the people on the left, okay, and the socialist types, right? You know, a lot of them are well-meaning, but you know, it doesn't mean they understand Bitcoin and how Bitcoin is about anti-corruption. You know what I mean? Because we have corrupt governments and stuff like that. But I think that we definitely have big problems with the WEF. But first of all, nobody voted for the WEF, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Nobody voted for him. I never heard of him before. They just came up and started talking about their agenda, right? And frankly, I don't think anybody cares except for the people on the left, right? The reset is a delete button. They're going to delete all the debt. That's what the reset is, right?
The Great Reset, they said, right?
Yeah. So what is it? $226 trillion, the global debt, right? Well, they're just going to delete it. So that means they just wipe the slate clean. That means they get to keep whatever they have, right? But this is where, you know, cryptos are saying, you know what, you can't just delete things. This is like Ethereum rolling back the chain, right?
Yeah.
If you have a bank, they roll back the chain, right?
Yeah.
This is, you guys stole that money, $226 trillion, right? I don't know where it went, but it's definitely many corrupt systems, right? If they have a plan, you can, you know, where is the audit going to be? How are they going to audit that? I would like to put that on a blockchain so everybody can see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, what's your take on CBDC? I mean, like, it's gonna be like surveillance system. Yeah, yeah, I know there is no competition. I mean, no contest with Bitcoin. But yeah, what was your talk about it?
Well, CBDC, you know, the whole thing about CBDCs and the central banks is that they're trying to stay relevant, right? They have a struggle for relevance because we have a better, a faster, more efficient way to send and receive money. You don't need banks anymore. You can just send that from your phone, right? 2010, 2011, we didn't have phones that could do that, right? We had flip phones and crappy phones back then, like Blueberries or whatever, right? Blackberries. But now that we have smartphones, you can have an ATM in your hand, right? And now that is going to get rid of all of that middle infrastructure, right? the third parties. So the banks really have a problem because now they have a struggle for relevance because they have a competitor that can outcompete them at their own game. So even like something like Litecoin, it's still in the top 20, right?
Yes.
But it's still better than any of the banks.
Yes.
So they really have a problem. That's why they always talk bad about cryptos, right? They talk about money laundering, drugs, and whatever else, right? But everybody knows that the number one currency to launder money is the US dollar.
Yeah.
And all the banks, they're the best at laundering money, right?
Yeah.
You wonder why all these banks, the banks have the biggest buildings in every single city.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because
So-
the banks, people say, oh, bank can, we can like borrow and lend our money to the banks. But bank, the only business out there that there is no competition, right? I mean, the Federal Reserve is no competition. That's why.
Yeah, but
there is so many
yeah.
banks, but they are under the Federal Reserve, right? So yeah, that's the
Yeah.
point.
Well, I think there's the problem is that these corporates are filled with too many people that will lie, cheat, and steal for a living, right? Because they're incentivized to lie, cheat, and steal, right?
Yes.
Whereas somebody like me, okay, I don't have any incentive from the bank, right? They don't give me interest on whatever I save, right? But it just so happens if I hold my money in Bitcoin or something, I have more incentive to hold Bitcoin than fiat currency. So really, we're talking about the death of the dollar and other fiat currencies. That's what they're not saying, right? Yeah, you can roll out CBDC as much as you want, but who's going to really save in that? Who wants it? You have to give it away for free, right?
Exactly.
I think they will all fail. So
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before
I mean, it's a matter of time. But of course, when you and I trade, we need some sort of measure of what a dollar is going to be, right? Let's say, I'm totally okay with that. We need some sort of stable currency that we can agree on that, this Coke is going to cost. Whereas let's say in Russia, the Coke has already gone up, 2x, 10, 3x,
So yeah, I think for medium exchange, I think Bitcoin is okay. But like you said before, for unit of account, I think it still might need to get a mass adoption, right?
Well,
you need to set up in Satoshi, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with mass adoption. We already crossed the 3%. That's why Goldman Sachs, that's why JP Morgan, that's why they're all doing Bitcoin and throwing money at VCs. They are throwing money into VCs so they can get a piece of the pie. They were late, right? And they still want to be relevant, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we don't need them, right? We don't need them because they don't, the only companies that we need are companies that produce things. We don't need people taking money off of trades. You know what I mean? Making money off of nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, switching gears a bit. And what was the situation in Hong Kong? I mean, the Bitcoin adoption in Hong Kong. I think I mean, yeah, there is a back then, yeah, in 2019 there is a clash in Hong Kong. I don't know what's the issue in that, but
Well,
Bitcoin in Hong Kong, its adoption is getting better and better over time, or
we have a problem here in Hong Kong. The regulators, they understand what Bitcoin can do, right? So their problem is capital flight, okay, and capital controls. So they don't want money leaving the mainland through Hong Kong, okay? Cryptocurrencies, of course, you cannot control Bitcoin. Some border is not going to stop Bitcoin. So now they're talking about regulating Bitcoin for just institutional investors, right? You have to be basically registered with them. You can't just, you can't just be poor and buy Bitcoin. You have to be registered with them.
yes,
So now, but the real issue is capital flight. And trillions of dollars leaving China and billions of dollars leaving Hong Kong. We've already seen maybe 150,000 people leave Hong Kong. Maybe about 50,000 families leave Hong Kong. Those are billions of dollars right there. Okay. Now, so you see there's other problems here in Hong Kong that aren't really related to Bitcoin per se. It's more the country trying to stop the leaks in a boat, right? Because the leaks are going to sink the ship.
yeah, exactly. I mean, Hong Kong is a tax haven country or not? I mean, I don't know. There
Is
is
what?
like tax haven.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, there's no capital gains here.
yeah, that's why entrepreneur and also, have you ever heard of like Panama Papers? Yeah, so many people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
what's happening in there, but yeah, I think that's
Well, the Panama Papers, what that proved that there's corruption on all levels, and people will move their money to other jurisdictions just to avoid taxes. So that is the problem with capital flight, right? We have trillions of dollars in China. They're trying to exit, right? And what are they going to exit to? Well, they can go to Canada. Oh, wait, Canada just froze our accounts. We don't want to go there. We better put it in the crypto because now there's no other countries that can be considered safe, right? You don't want to go to Switzerland because, if you're already out of China, you don't want to go to Switzerland, right? You want to go to one of these small islands, right? But that's what these jurisdictions are for. They're for, doing funny business, right?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, since like China, I don't know, maybe they try to like occupy or anything like that. But if so, I think, do you think that China CBDC will get implemented in the Hong Kong or just
I think they tried to roll it out, but
okay?
the problem in Hong Kong is well, we're having cases here right now, so people are distracted by the cases, so they don't really pay attention to what's going on with Bitcoin because there's some other distraction going on over here.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I mean? So, we have meetups usually, but because of the COVID situation, everybody is locked down, so we
Yeah.
can't have meetups. But anyway, when it comes down to protecting their own money, people are looking to get out, So
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it about situation in Hong Kong. Yeah, Yeah, it's almost like 1 hour already. Yeah, before I wrap this up, yeah, do you have any specific Bitcoin prediction? Yeah, it's just for fun, Mas. Yeah, do you have any? Yeah, Bitcoin is still bull run or not? Yeah, for the next 2 years, lah.
Well, I think what we're going to see because of the political instability, people are going to move more to Bitcoin. You know, it's political instability, and they're finding out that the banks are going to take it seriously. And because we've already all of the people now, we've passed the 3% mark, right? And we're going into 5 to 10% of the population. Of course, a lot of the big money has already moved, but they're not going to tell you that, right? The small people that can actually change people's lives, right? Some of them don't know what to think. But I think every time there's a problem, let's say there was a problem in Canada, right? They froze the accounts. Oh, Bitcoin, people started to wake up to that. Oh, so now the news changed to the Russia-Ukraine war. Okay, well, now the ruble is dying, right?
Yes.
Well, how are you going to save your wealth, right?
Yeah.
And Bitcoin addresses that too.
Yeah, Bitcoin was already on all-time highs in Russia. Yeah, in
All-time highs, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And the thing is that when Bitcoin goes up, that's when everybody pays attention. So when, let's say we go to 100,000, right? When Bitcoin gets big enough, like over 100,000, it will be more stable than most other currencies because it'll take so much money to manipulate it. Then there aren't people that big enough to manipulate it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think we are looking at a lot of money on the sidelines, trillions of dollars on the sidelines that are going to start going into Bitcoin this year. Now, I have friends that work with institutions that they do OTC and stuff like that. These are massive hedge funds, family offices, and stuff like that. They tell me that they are coming and that they're going in this year. So, but every time we talk about that, people are like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, do you think that this year there will be another country that announced that the Bitcoin standard? I mean, other than the El Salvador?
Well, I think all of the countries that are not associated with the World Economic Forum, those are the ones that will go into it.
Yes.
Because they will sit there and go, you know what? This is like a suicide pact, because if the dollar dies, everybody dies. And you don't want to drink that Kool-Aid, right? Look at Russia now. If you saved all your money in Russian rubles, you are destroyed, right? What are you going to do? Now you're screwed, right? So nobody wants to join the cult and, drink the Kool-Aid, right?
Yes.
So people are finally waking up, these people like on the left, mainly, right? Because the libertarians, they're already on board, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like AOC and Elizabeth Warren always blame the greed of corporation, but
but they remember their team is the Federal Reserve and the government, and they are just trying to preserve their gang, right?
Exactly.
So they'll do whatever it takes to preserve their gang. And if it's like the mafia, if you have to go to your grave and because that's how the gang is, right? If it's the vow of silence, right? If you know the lie, you can't tell the truth.
Yeah,
That's how bad it is.
yeah, that's the politician, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah,
can
yeah.
only know about that. Yeah, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's been an hour already. Yeah, thank you so much, Cliff, for your time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there will be another Bitcoin meeting in Hong Kong every month, right?
Yeah, something like that. We'll try to do it every month, and you know, we just try to uh, uh, stay ahead of the times and talk about these things. But a lot of people will think that it's conspiracy theory and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But
It,
really, it depends on what their worldview is and how awake they are.
yes.
Because I've talked to people in 2010, 2011, and they had no idea what we were talking about. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe I will join again to your meeting next month. Yeah, if it's okay. Yeah, yeah. I think that's it for today, guys. Yeah, I will share the link of the your Telegram group in the link description, and leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Yeah,